Welcome to this week's edition of Dolphin Radio. And now, here's your hosts, Brad Michaels and John Bach. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dolphin Radio. Brad Michaels here with you. John will get well soon. He is out a little under the weather today, so our thoughts are with John. I've got on the phone with us today, Chris Barker. Chris, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, it's always great to have you on. Say hello to your mom. Hopefully she'll be able to watch the show as soon as we get it posted up.
Absolutely.
Big win. I know you guys are there. We had a big win against Carolina. Obviously, we talked about that last week, our last show actually from Bo Campers, unless somehow it looks like we have run the table up until the final week, at which point maybe I can convince John to meet me over at Bo Campers the Saturday before that finale against the Patriots, and we might fire up another show. But
absolutely.
Anyway, so we had a big victory Sunday against the Giants. I had my friend flew in from Los Angeles. He's a Giants fan. Sorry. And he had a good time. The seats that I've got, they're great. Actually, I don't even sit in the seats. He did for a little while. We went up there just briefly. And I spent most of my time, as usual, down on the sidelines. I like the view that I get from the sidelines. I get a chance to see the play as it's happening. Yeah, I do get blocked out on a few things. It's not anything that's major. I can always look up at the board and see what I'm missing. But it's really fun to be down there in the action because as they're running, you hear the feet stomping on the field. It's like being a part of the action.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up to you real quick. Your thoughts on the Giants game?
I was pretty impressed with all around team performance. I mean, we held the Giants at a total of 9 points. We kept them out of the end zone, which I thought was pretty impressive. So definitely props to that. And I think, Tua had himself, for a free interception day. He didn't throw any picks, which was very good. And, I think all of the entire team performance all around was pretty solid.
I agree with you, and it's interesting to note, and I've said it. I said it last week's show. John and I have talked about it all season long. Neither John nor I was big on the pick number 5 last year in Tua Tagovailoa. I was concerned mainly, and I wanted Herbert because I felt that he was more durable. I thought he obviously has the bigger size for an NFL quarterback. I thought he had a better arm. He was going to be able to throw the deep ball more effective than Tua. But the injury problem was the biggest thing that I saw with Tua and why I didn't really want him. But I have to say, he's turning me into a believer. We are running a bit more of the Alabama-style offense that he ran when he was their quarterback. A lot of underneath routes, Jalen Waddle. But the thing is, when you get the ball out to Jalen Waddle, who, by the way, they're basically using him as the wide receiver 1 right now until Devontae came back.
Yeah, they sure are.
Well, Devontae's back, so Devontae may go back into that number 1, but now you got 2 number 1s. Waddle's able, with that speed, to catch those underneath routes because he's going to catch anything that's thrown to him. Devontae Parker showed that he would catch anything that was thrown to him. He had 5 targets, I believe. He caught all 5, 62 yards at a 12.4 yard average. So when you've got Waddle, though, is able to catch everything and the speed that he's got, Parker's got his speed, those guys are able to get yards after the catch. And that's a big thing so the dink and dunk style of football can work.
Yeah, it certainly can. And when you have those 2 wide receivers out there, I mean, it opens offense up more, when, just in the passing game. So having those 2 definitely are, definitely a good thing to have out there for sure.
Absolutely. And it opens up the game for the tight end a little more. And we all know we've got, Mike Gesicki sitting there. He was targeted 11 times. He caught 7 of them for 46 yards. Only a 6.6 yard average, but very effective if you think about it. Every time we needed a big play and we went to either Parker, Waddle, or Gesicki, we got that big play.
Yeah, we sure did. And that's what helps, when you have those 2, good wide receivers out there, it definitely opens up the tight end plays. So, having all those key players out there were really probably made a difference in the game, of the outcome of the game too.
Right. Now, in the running game, we still have a big issue, in my opinion. Myles Gaskin, I don't think he's the answer. I think Gaskin could be a player we keep on the team. He does come through in certain moments. He had a 6-yard long run. Ahmed had an 11-yard run. But both of those guys only averaged 2.9 yards apiece. Now, you sit there, you want to say, okay, almost 3 yards. So if you run them 2 times, they get you 6 yards. Now you're faced with a 3rd and 4. 3rd and 4 is manageable, but I'd rather see somewhere closer to 3.5 or higher on that average.
Absolutely. I mean, our running game is not, great, like you said, but, 3rd down and 4, it's manageable if you have a decent running game. So, anything longer than that is, probably better to go with the passing game. But, 3rd down and 4, definitely you can run it on that.
But with the passing game that we're displaying now with, a guy like Tua, we are, we're sitting there with 4 yards is manageable, 5 yards is manageable. That's the dink and dunk, and then you get the yards after the catch.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Now, if you look at the final team statistics, we talked about this right before we went on the air here, and we beat the Giants in just about every statistical category of the game. First downs, 3rd down efficiency. Ours wasn't that great. Ours was only 40%, but we held them to 37.5. We outgained them 297 to 250. We outgained them by 70 yards just in the passing game. Our net punting average was 44.7. They had 36.8. We were red zone efficiency 2 for 2 and goal to go efficiency 2 for 2, where we kept them 0 for 1 in the red zone. And then the time of possession was pretty equal. We outdistanced them by 40 seconds. That was it.
Yeah. And time of possession is definitely key, but overall, I think it was a solid performance by that standard anyway.
Sure. Well, I think one of the big reasons why a lot of us as Dolphin fans were probably still biting our nails even into the fourth quarter was the fact that time of possession was so close, because we turned around, despite the fact that we're scoring or we're stopping them, it seemed that they always had the ball. They always were within, enough time and a 2-score game.
Right, and you never know what was going to happen on their side of the ball, because you were always, hoping that they weren't going to turn it into touchdowns. We were all hoping they would just remain all field goals. So we were all definitely keeping our fingers crossed that it wouldn't be an upset for sure in that game.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to give Jalen Phillips, again, got to give him props. 2 sacks, and then Adam Butler, he got the other one. So the Dolphins sacked Mike Glennon 3 times. And I got to tell you something. Mike Glennon might be the backup quarterback. It may have been a different game had Daniel Jones been able to go. I don't think so. I think we would have teed off on him as well. But I got to give props to Mike Glennon. He actually, despite the rush that we were putting in his face all day long, he actually played a pretty good game.
Yeah, I thought he played a solid game myself. I mean, he was connecting on all of the, targets, and I was impressed with his performances. Despite that we kept pressuring him.
Yeah, and it was a good thing to see. And I want to go into let's go ahead and talk, because there's not really a whole lot now for the Dolphins for us to talk about. They don't have a game this week. This is our bye week.
Right.
We got the Jets coming up. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. I think the Jets are going to be a good game for us. I think it's a game that we'll win going away. A lot more impressive, I think, coming up than what we had in New York. But I want to go ahead and, thanks to ESPN, I don't know who designed this. This is a pretty incredible little tool here to use that actually, it's the NFL playoff machine. And you're able to go through, and we're going to start here at week 14. Of course, the Dolphins don't play this week. And then what we're going to do is I want to go through and show the audience what it looks like, in our opinion, with the remaining games and the teams that we're up against. We are currently 13th in the AFC. So we have to leapfrog 6 teams in order to get to number 7. and be able to get a chance to get into the playoffs. So we have to pretty much win out. It looks like 10-7. We can sneak in, and I've done this playoff scenario a couple of times with a couple of different scenarios, and it seems to play out each time that we're able to get in if we win out. Just because the schedule makers decided that, like they always do at the end of the season, there's going to be a few games in there that are divisional games or there's some other type of matchup that will have playoff implications. It always happens. So I'm going to go through this with you, and we're going to pick these games from now through the end of the season. So we're going to go week 14 through week 18. We're going to pick these games. We're going to pick the Dolphins to win out because that's what we've got to do. And then we're going to see how this thing shapes up. Now, the way we're going to do this, though, Chris, it's got to be unanimous. So if we're not unanimous on the pick, then we're going to have to go probably with the team, probably with the better record. But I'm looking at the first game that's coming up on the slate for this week is the Thursday night game, tomorrow night, Pittsburgh at Minnesota. Now, my feeling is that Minnesota is going to be a little angry that they lost to the Lions, although we talked about that. The Lions really haven't been out of any game. They haven't been completely blown out. They've been pretty competitive all year, and that's a Dan Campbell team.
All season, honestly, yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't think the Steelers are as good as some people are giving them credit for. That win against Baltimore Sunday night, Baltimore kind of gave them that. They had a chance to just kick the extra point, go into overtime and see what happens, and they decided to go for the 2, see if they could just win it, and of course we all know what happened there. So I don't think Pittsburgh's as good as a lot of people are giving them credit for. So I'm going with the Vikings tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Vikings as well. I don't think Pittsburgh really should have won that game. I think Baltimore, really should have won, but yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota tomorrow night, too, on that one.
All right. So Atlanta is at Carolina. I think Carolina wins that.
Oh, yeah, Carolina wins that. I'm probably, in a big, it's not going to probably won't even be a close game, so they'll probably win it pretty convincingly.
Exactly. Now, here's an interesting game, and this does have playoff ramifications for us. Obviously, I don't think Baltimore, other than the fact that if Baltimore was to collapse somehow and allow Cleveland or even the Bengals or the Steelers to overtake them, and we're up against them, and somehow we have the same record, although it's possible they would have to lose. They would have to only win 2 more games the rest of the season. But Baltimore at Cleveland. I see Cleveland giving them a tough game, but somehow something tells me that Baltimore, after the Steelers game Sunday night, is going to come out there and just lay waste to the Browns.
Yeah, I think Baltimore is going to probably come with a winning field goal. It's going to be a close game, but I expect Baltimore to take the winning field goal at the last final seconds and come away victorious in that game.
All right, so we're going to check Baltimore off, and if you notice, as we're making these picks, the playoff seedings are beginning to change along the bottom of the screen, well, in the middle of the screen, and then the standings actually will change on the bottom down here as well. So this is pretty interesting what we're seeing here. Now, this is a game that doesn't matter really for either team. This is Seattle at the Texans. The Texans, they suck. So Seattle's record isn't that great, but Seattle's going to beat them, I think.
Yeah, and I expect that then to be pretty much over with by halftime. If everything goes their way, Seattle's way, that is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Texans are just they're a mess.
Yeah, they're a total debacle. I don't see the Texans even keeping it close.
No, and they're even being talked about. David Culley could lose his job as coach by the end of the season. Let's get on to the Raiders are at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are cooking. I mean, the Chiefs are on fire. They're the Kansas City Chiefs again.
Right. I mean, how can you go against Patrick Mahomes at home?
You can't go against him at home. So we'll chalk that one up for the Chiefs. That puts the Chiefs in the 3rd seed currently. Here's New Orleans at the New York Jets. This is not really important for us other than the fact that we play we play the Jets next after our bye, and then the week after that we play on Monday night against the Saints. I think the Saints are going to win this game.
Yeah, I think the Jets are not a very good, well matched against the Saints, so I expect the Saints to pretty much win it convincingly.
Yeah, and that would take the Saints to 6-7. Does nothing for them playoff wise, but doesn't do anything either way for either one of these teams at this point in the playoff scenario. Moving on to Jacksonville, will play at Tennessee. This is a no-brainer. Jacksonville, another mess. Urban Meyer might be fired at the end of this season. I see them. I actually did I did see them winning one game. I believe they have to play the Texans. I believe they'll win that game. But that's going to be the only other game that Jacksonville is going to win. So I have Jacksonville, I think, coming in with 2 wins, with 3 wins at the end of the season, where Houston will have only 2. So Houston's going to get the number 1 draft pick. So I'm going to take the Titans in that game. Here's my upset of the week. I'm going to take the Washington football team to upset the Dallas Cowboys, who, by the way, are 4-point favorites at Washington, but I think Washington's going to surprise them.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Washington's going to pull off the upset as well, and I think they're probably – it's going to be a close game, but at the end, I think just Washington's going to be too much for Dallas.
I think so. So we're on the same page with that one. That, if you'll notice, Washington is right now sitting here looking very nice to get that 6th seed over in the NFC. Dallas still winning. Correct. Dallas still winning their division, and of course Arizona is projected right now as the top seed. That could change if Green Bay keeps winning and somehow Arizona slips up. But as you look at the schedule, other than this game here, which we'll get to, it's fairly smooth sailing, I think, for the Cardinals moving forward. Here's a game that's very interesting. We just talked about the Lions. We've talked about how competitive the Lions are. And then you have the Broncos, who right now the Broncos are 6-6. They're 1/2 game ahead of Miami, and they are ahead of us as far as for playoff seeding, although the 7th seed right now belongs to Buffalo, who at one time I thought controlled their destiny for the number 1 seed, and unfortunately we have New England back on top in the AFC, which I don't like that at all. But the Broncos at 6-6, are the Broncos a 6-6 team? Are they better than 6-6, or are they worse than 6-6? And where does Detroit match up with Denver? What's your thoughts?
I think the Broncos are better than 6-6, and I think Detroit's been keeping it close the entire season. They really haven't been blown out, so I think that should be a pretty even matchup.
What do you say? Go with the home team just because they're at home, altitude, the fan base, they're going to have the 12th man behind them. Broncos maybe in a nail biter with a field goal at the end?
Yeah, I think the Broncos win it by a touchdown, actually. I think they're going to win it by a last-second touchdown. So I think Broncos will come away with that one.
All right. I will have to go with you on that one. I think I'm going to take the Broncos. I love the Lions. I love Dan Campbell. They haven't been out of any games all year, but I got to go with the Broncos at home. I'll just tip it that way. Now you got the Giants at the Chargers. I think this is a no-brainer. The Chargers are just head and shoulders above the Giants. I think that's the Chargers. This isn't even close.
Yeah. Plus, the Giants have to travel across country, which is never an easy thing to do. So,
well, and they're probably now, not only are they going to be without Daniel Jones, they're probably not going to have Mike Glennon. He is out. Last I knew, he was in concussion protocol. So unless he clears it, they've got Jake Fromm.
Yeah, unless he clears. Yeah, they got Jake. So that should be interesting for sure.
That's another one there that I think that just goes. Now, here's a tough game. San Francisco. Currently, their record's 4-8. And they have to go on the road. They have to play at Cincinnati. Now, the Bengals have been all over the place. The Bengals have not. They're 7-5. We all thought they started out really strong. We all thought that they were going to be, lights out in the AFC North. And last week on the show, I went back and called it the old AFC Central. I'm so used to that stuff. But San Francisco, that's a team that they're Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. You never know whether they're going to come out and be that Super Bowl team from 2 years ago, or if they're going to be what we've seen all year so far, a lot of inconsistency and just not able to get it done. I'm going to go on a limb here. This isn't going on a limb. I'm going to go with Cincinnati just because they're at home.
Right. I'm going to go with Cincinnati too because they're at home, because they got their fans behind them. So, and they're probably a little bit more better than their record say they are. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
All right, we'll go with Cincinnati. All right, Buffalo is at Tampa Bay. There's a lot of people that are saying that the Bills are reeling, but they're going to pull off the biggest upset perhaps of the week, perhaps of the year. I don't see it. I don't think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills have what it takes to go into Tampa. I don't think they have. They're not going into the sombrero. I know it's not the sombrero anymore, but they're not going into Tampa Stadium and beating the Buccaneers.
No, I totally agree with you. I think Tom Brady's going to be too much for Buffalo, and Buffalo's, on the downslide a little bit. So I think, Tampa Bay's going to win and win convincingly. And I think, when all said and done, I think the Dolphins could very well be playing for a tie of second place, once Buffalo loses to Tampa.
That's a very good possibility. The Dolphins will be 6-7 as the Jets head into town, with us trying to even our record. We're going to get to that after 2 more games this week. This is a no-brainer. Green Bay is at home against Chicago. It's Green Bay all day.
Oh, Green Bay, yeah. It won't be even close. Green Bay, big time.
Now, you will notice, though, for those that are watching, you'll notice that when I chose Buffalo to lose against Tampa, that knocked Buffalo out of the playoffs. If the playoffs were to start after Week 14, that would have put Indianapolis in the 7th seed. Indianapolis came into Miami 0-3 and beat us. and John even said, the Colts have been coming out of nowhere. Now, they lost a tough one to Tampa, but yeah, they've won some really close games. They've won going away, actually, in some of those games with their running back. But when we pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to defeat the Buffalo Bills, that drops Buffalo to 7-6, and Indianapolis at 7-6 jumped ahead of Buffalo for the 7th seed. Now, moving along to, we got Green Bay. All right, so we've got, now here's the Monday night matchup, and this is an interesting game. This is the Arizona Cardinals are at home against the Los Angeles Rams. Arizona, as we all know, is 10-2. They're 7-0 at home. But points scored by these teams, you can't go against Arizona, I don't think. But the points scored for these teams, the Rams have averaged 28, where the Cardinals have averaged 28.6. Here's where it gets interesting. The Rams have allowed 22.5, where Arizona's only allowed 18.7. I've got to go Arizona.
Yeah, I'm with Arizona too. I think they're at home, and it's going to be, Arizona all the way through.
All right, so that puts our seedings here. You'll see them. We got New England first seed, AFC, Arizona first seed in the NFC, with then Green Bay, Tampa, 3rd seed, Dallas, the 4th currently. If you come over here to the 5th seed, it's the Los Angeles Rams. Washington makes it in. If the playoffs ended after Week 14, Minnesota sneaks in as the 7th seed. So Minnesota's still alive, and I think Minnesota's got a good shot. In the AFC after Week 14, it ranks out New England, Tennessee, Baltimore, Kansas City, the Los Angeles Chargers, Cincinnati Bengals, and then the Indianapolis Colts. So let's move on to Week 15, and let's play out our scenario. Now, we said at the beginning of this that we've said that Miami has to win out. So we're going to go ahead and check Miami off. Then we're going to come back to a very interesting matchup. This would be the Thursday night game on the 16th on Fox. This is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. So you have the 8-4. Well, at that point in time, they would both be 9-4 and 8-5. So we've got Kansas City and Los Angeles basically kind of looks like playing maybe for first place in the AFC West. It could go a long way in determining who actually wins that division. Again, though, we've said that the Chiefs are starting to look like the Chiefs again, but the Chargers, they're dangerous. Justin Herbert at quarterback. That defense gets after people. Now, they have allowed 26.3. Their defensive rank is 16th, where the Chiefs are ranked 26th in defense, but we've noticed that the Chiefs are starting to come along. Chiefs have the third-ranked offense against number 7 for San Diego. Well, for Los Angeles, sorry, for the Chargers. So who do you pick here, Chris? Do you take the Chargers at home?
I'll say it again. It's so hard to go against Patrick Mahomes because he's so elite. But the Chargers being at home, I think it's going to be close. But I think the Chiefs will come away with a 1-point win. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Well, I'm with you. I think it's going to be very, very close. I think it's going to possibly be somewhere probably around 23-21. As we get close to the end of the game, the Chiefs will line up for a winning field goal, maybe with time expiring, and that thing goes through. So I had this one picked last night, and I'm like you. I can't go against the Chiefs right now. They're playing too good. You can't go against Patrick Mahomes. And right now, it's Kansas City all the way for me. Now, another easy pick, I think, for us in Week 15 is the Raiders are at the Browns. And I think the Browns will definitely beat the Raiders. I don't think there's any question.
Right. I have the Browns winning against the Raiders too.
Okay. So we'll pick the Browns there. Now, this one is one that we really need to take a look at this one. We'll take a look at this matchup. This is on Saturday, the 18th. This is the New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts.
That's going to be an interesting game.
Well, the Colts don't have the Colts have a losing record at home, 3-4, as we stand right now.
Right.
New England is 3-4 at home. Now, New England, though, is 6-0 on the road.
Right. So when all said and done, you have to go with New England, because they're undefeated on the road.
Yeah. I think we have to go with New England. New England, for whatever reason, and I hate to say it, I guess – yeah, I hate to say it. Belichick's doing a good job this year. So, but at the same token, I wonder how much of this is them, trying to put Belichick back into the playoffs and get him up there to where he's going to face off against Brady. All right, but we're going to take the Patriots in that game. Now, Buffalo gets to go home. They get a little bit of a breather. They've got Carolina coming in, and I'm going to have to go Buffalo. The bleeding's going to stop at this point for Buffalo. They're going to finally pick up another win.
Yeah, Buffalo at home. Yeah, you can't go against Buffalo in that environment. But, they're Bills Mafia. I'm going to go with Buffalo on that one, too.
Okay. We already picked the Dolphins because we've said in order for this scenario to take place, the Dolphins have to win out. So we're assuming the Dolphins win out, or we're going to make it interesting by the time we get to Week 18. So we're coming up on the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is Sunday the 19th. This is a game on Fox. I'm going to say right here that Washington's high, if you will, ends at this point. You're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, I do believe, will beat Washington.
Yeah, the Eagles definitely should beat Washington, and I think the Eagles are going to be too much for Washington to handle. So I'm going with the Eagles. So
we're good with that one. Now here's a little bit of a tough one because this one could be a major upset. Dan Campbell would definitely be ecstatic if the Arizona Cardinals go into Detroit and somehow Detroit manages to beat, at that point in time, an 11-2 Cardinals team that's just cruising. But I don't see it. I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I just don't see Detroit being able to even keep up with Arizona.
No, there's just no way, I don't think. All right, so here was the game that I told you that I think that makes the difference between who's going to get the number one pick in the draft, and this is the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think Jacksonville's at home. Trevor Lawrence is a much better quarterback. I think Urban Meyer's a better coach actually right now than David Culley. So I'm going to have to go with Jacksonville at home. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Jacksonville at home too. I think just the Houston Texans are a complete debacle. I think Urban Meyer would get the Jaguars would get the best out of it's Houston. So I'm definitely going with Jaguars.
Absolutely. Okay. So the New York Football Giants are next up. They're at home on the 19th in a 1 o'clock matchup on Fox. The Dallas Cowboys are in town. Now, normally I would say Dallas has been reeling. We've projected Dallas to be coming into this game, be coming off of that loss to Washington at Washington when they're a 4-point favorite. Dallas will most likely, even if they lose to Washington, will be favored over the Giants. But then again, the Giants always seem to beat Dallas, sometimes in Dallas, and they always seem to take care of them at home. I just don't see it happening this year. I think that by this time, the Giants are just going to be like pretty much just mailing it in. I'm going to have to go with Dallas, but it's not going to be a convincing win, I don't think.
No, it's going to be probably a low-scoring game. I'm going to go with the low-scoring game. It'll probably be like 17-14, but Giants will find a way to pull it out.
You're going to go with the Giants? All right. Well, you know what? I have to then, in that case, I got to go with because we were supposed to agree on these 100%. So if we don't agree, and I want to take Dallas, you want to take the Giants, I have to go with the home team. That's our tiebreaker. So, all right. So we've got New York upsetting the Dallas Cowboys, and Dallas is still at this point, though, in control of that 4th seed in the NFC. All right, moving along. Tennessee Titans, who we will have to play the next week in week 16. The Tennessee Titans are on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, I don't think Pittsburgh's that good of a team. They are at home. The Titans are without Derrick Henry. Tannehill isn't the type of quarterback that's going to put you on his back. But that defense can play some pretty lights out football if they get inspired. And I think Tennessee's just a better team. I got to go. I'm sorry for all of my Pittsburgh buddies, but I got to go with Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, I like Tennessee as well. I think this Tennessee's going to be too much for them. I definitely have Tennessee winning that game as well.
Yeah, Tennessee, despite the fact that their defense has given up 24.2, they've been playing better. Their defensive rank is 17th versus the Pittsburgh defensive rank of 22. Their offense is ranked 16th, and Pittsburgh's is ranked 22. Pittsburgh is just kind of a 22 type of team. And they're at home, but they haven't been impressive at home. They're 4-2-1, but the road record for the Titans is 4-2. So I'm like you. I'm going Titans to continue to control their playoff destiny and stay in that 2nd seed right now by beating the Steelers. Bengals are on the road now at the Broncos. Are the Bengals? This is another one of those tough games. You've got at this point in time, we're talking about Cincinnati being 8-5 going into this game, where Denver is 7-6. This is a game that could go either way. It's a matter of, will the real Bengals stand up or will the real Broncos stand up? What's your take?
I think the real Broncos are going to stand up on this one. I just think, at the end of the day, I think the Broncos find a way to win this game. It's going to be close, but I like the Broncos in that one.
All right. I have to go with the Broncos then in that case because they're the home team. I was going to lean towards the Bengals, but I think the Broncos at home. I see the Bengals as a team that's just kind of up and down. And because they're up and down all the time, I'm going to have to go with the home team, the Broncos. And the Broncos might at that point be a little desperate. This game would put the Broncos at 8-6 and give them a fairly decent shot of getting into the playoffs. That puts them into the 7th seed right now, right here. So we come up on San Francisco is at home against Atlanta. No brainer, San Francisco all day.
Yeah, San Francisco, it won't be even close. San Francisco in the blowout.
All right. Green Bay, then on the road. This is a Sunday. This is the 19th. This is the afternoon game. Packers at the Ravens. This is going to be a really good game. The Packers need this win and need some help at Arizona drops a game or two so that they can take over the number 1 seed. Baltimore has had some really iffy games, but their offensive rank is 14th, where the Packers are 7th ranked defense. So that's going to be a heavy matchup. The Packers have the 15th rated offense, while the defensive rank for the Ravens is 20th. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I'm going to say Green Bay can actually pull off that upset. Well, I don't even know if it would be an upset. I think Green Bay goes into Baltimore and beats them.
Yeah, I think Green Bay goes into Baltimore and beats them convincingly. I'm going to go with 23-14 Green Bay.
I agree with you. I think that's I think that Green Bay is just going to show everybody that Baltimore, yeah, Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback. Baltimore does have a good team, but they're a little on the inconsistent side. And that game that they lost Sunday night to Pittsburgh, that game's going to come back to haunt them. Okay, Seattle.
Right, absolutely.
Seattle not playing very well at all. They have to go and take on the Rams in Los Angeles. I'll take the Rams all day long.
Yeah, the Rams, me too. I just think the Rams going to be too much for Seattle, so I'm going to go with the Rams.
All right. Last two games of Week 15, because we've got 3 more weeks we got to cover here, so it's going to be a little bit of a longer show today. But we wanted to do this because we want everybody to see how the playoffs are going to shape up, and this is the best way to do it with this playoff machine. We've got the Buccaneers are at home against the Saints. I think that's Buccaneers all day long. And then the Vikings, that Monday night game, the Vikings are at Chicago. That's Minnesota all day long.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in Minnesota too. I just think both teams are just too good right now.
Okay. Let's go on to Week 16. I got to go find the Dolphins game because obviously we have said that the Dolphins absolutely have to win out. So Week 16, we have the Dolphins. They're at New Orleans. So I'm going to go ahead and check them off. And I think moving into that game, it'll depend. If we had a little bit of a rough game against the Jets, and depending on how New Orleans plays kind of heading into that game, how much are they alive or still alive? We have them projected though to be 6-8 as we head into that game. We would be 7-7 if we beat the Jets. So we'd be just one game better than them, but obviously on that 6-game win streak. So we keep it at 7 wins. I think that's good. So I think we really do have a shot there. I think it's interesting as we go on the road then to Tennessee, and then the next week coming back home to face the New England Patriots. So let's go to the next game, though. The first game is that Thursday night game in Week 16. This is San Francisco at Tennessee. Not even close. San Francisco is not going to bode well on the road at Tennessee.
No, not even close. I'm going to go with Tennessee all day here.
And by the way, now we have not gotten to the New England pick yet or the Kansas City pick, but that just vaulted Tennessee into the top seed in the AFC, which makes it very interesting for the Dolphins coming up in Week 17. But then again, like I said, we haven't gotten to the New England pick, and we haven't gotten to Kansas City's pick. Cleveland has to go on the road to Green Bay. Green Bay's not going to lose at home.
No, but Green Bay all day in that game. I like Green Bay and I like Green Bay.
Yeah. All right, so now we come to the Colts at the Cardinals. Sorry, Colts, but you're going to get a loss here because the Cardinals are just too good of a team, too solid. They're going to be at home. That stadium's going to be rocking as Arizona will move to 13-2 on the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arizona too. I think Arizona's just going to be way too much to handle. I'm going with you. I like Arizona big in that game.
Yeah. All right, Detroit gets to travel to Atlanta. And as good as Detroit has played, Atlanta has not played very well all year. Atlanta has won a couple of games probably they shouldn't have won. We'll have them projected, I believe, coming in here to this game at 5-9. I believe this is not going to have any playoff implications at all. I'm going to take Detroit to win one on the road.
Yeah, I like Detroit too. I think, like you said, there's not going to be much to play for. I'm going to go with Detroit on this one too.
Yep. You're playing for pride at this point, or you're playing for a draft pick. So I'm going to go.
Right.
I'm going to go with Detroit in upset. Tampa Bay at Carolina. I'm not going against Brady this late in the season with the playoffs on the line.
No, I love Tampa in that game. I think, just go with Carolina out of the water. I definitely am going with Tampa.
Okay. Here's one that gets a little interesting, and this is an AFC North matchup. This is the Ravens will be on the road at the Bengals. The road record for the Ravens is 3-3 right now. The Bengals, though, are 3-3 at home. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go with the offense of the Baltimore Ravens. It's ranked number 4 in the National Football League right now. I've got to go with the Ravens in that game. They're fighting for playoff seeding at this point, being one game behind New England and Kansas City heading into this week. They've got to win this game.
Yeah, I think Baltimore is going to win that game too. I just think Baltimore is going to play with more urgency. So definitely Baltimore.
All right. The Chargers on the road at the Texans. I don't see the Texans winning another game all season. I got to go with the Chargers.
Chargers all day for me. It's not going to even be close.
Now, and here, this brings us to this game here, which I don't like. This game is the Los Angeles Rams are on the road at Minnesota. Now, Minnesota is going to need this because they're in the 6th seed currently, the way that we've got everything, but Los Angeles is in the 5th seed. Los Angeles, not really a chance that they're going to catch Arizona, obviously, in any way, shape, or form. Mathematically impossible at this point, the way that we've got it projected. But,
right.
If you lose this game, does that hurt your chances moving forward if San Francisco, where do we have San Francisco? We've got San Francisco at 7-8. Mathematically possible, I think, that San Francisco could jump over you, but they're not going to. But who needs it most? Does Minnesota need it most? There's no way Minnesota's going to catch Green Bay. These two are playing just to make it. This is a playoff game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's definitely a playoff game. The winner moves on, and like you say, the winner moves on, and the loser goes home.
Well, the loser could go home. I mean, the loser could still make the playoffs, but it's you're opening up the door for another team to slide in if somebody else gets hot. If San Francisco rattles off the rest of their games, and this is a crusher for Los Angeles, San Francisco could end up in there. I'm going to have to I got to go Minnesota's at home, but Minnesota's not that good of a team. They're way too inconsistent. I got to go with the Rams.
Yeah, and I like the Rams too. I just think Minnesota they're unpredictable. I think, the Rams are just going to be a lot more, prepared for this game. So I like the Rams too.
Yep. And that game right there, if the Rams win that sets the stage for Philadelphia. There's one of those other teams that can sneak in there. Philadelphia sneaks in there at 7-7, but we haven't gotten to Philadelphia's game yet, have we? Nope. And Philadelphia has an easy game. So we're going to move on now to the Buffalo Bills, and they're at the New England Patriots. Are the Bills at this point going to rebound and knock off the Patriots when the Patriots are at home, though?
I don't see it. I mean, you got the Patriots at home. You got Mac Jones, quarterback. I don't see how Buffalo beats them. I'm going with New England in that game.
I don't see them beating New England, not in New England. And I know it was a snowy game, and I know that they had to run the ball a lot. But still, Buffalo should have been able to beat New England at Buffalo, and they weren't able to do it. All right, I'm going to give the Jets a win this week against the Jaguars. Just don't think the Jaguars are going to make a difference on that. We've got the Giants at the Eagles. That's a no-brainer. That's Eagles all the way. If you disagree with me on any of these that I kind of breezed through, just let me know. Chicago then at Seattle. I'll take Seattle in that game. It's a game of nobodies. Brings us to a very interesting matchup. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Kansas City all day long going away.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, again, you can't go against Patrick Mahomes. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be too much to handle. I love Kansas City in that game.
Yeah. All right. We get to the Broncos. We'll visit Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I'm going to say the Broncos riding high from that game, that win that we just gave them the week before, and this is the Raiders, maybe their last desperation. And I know that, this was pretty much almost the same week that the Raiders almost beat us last year. I think the Raiders win this game. I'm just going to go with them because they're at home.
Yeah, I love the Raiders too. They're at home. They got their, fans behind them. I just think the Raiders will be more prepared for this game.
Yeah. And then Dallas gets that rematch after they'll lose to Washington this week. Dallas gets the rematch at home. I'll take Dallas in the rematch at home against the Washington football team.
Yeah, Dallas at home. Dallas all day for me.
All right. Now, that loss did not hurt Washington. That kept Washington at a projected 7-8 record after week 16, still in the 7th seed. Buffalo sneaks back into the 7th seed in the AFC, while the Bengals are the 6th seed. Los Angeles Chargers in 5th. Then it rounds out New England number 1, Tennessee, Kansas City, and then Baltimore. So let's go into week 17. We've got to go find the Dolphins game. Dolphins are at Tennessee. We're going to go ahead and put the Dolphins in the driver's seat with that one. I want to talk about that matchup real quick, though. You've got the Dolphins right now 6-7. The Titans are 8-4. The Dolphins are now 4-3 at home. They're 2-4 on the road. The Titans are 4-2 on each, on the road and at home. Dolphins have not scored a whole lot of points in their games this year. They have 19.5 points, average points scored, average given up 22.2, whereas average points scored for the Titans is 25.3, but their defense has given up 24.2. Now, the offensive rankings and the defensive rankings, I don't think you could really take the Dolphins' defensive rank and match that up. It's currently 21st. But for the first 8 weeks of the season, well, actually for the second 7 weeks of the season, after the first game, the next 7 weeks, we didn't see the Dolphins defense really playing the way that we expected the Dolphins defense to play. Now they are. So I think they're a lot better than that 21st defensive rank. I think they match up well against the Titans offense at 16th. I think our offense is playing a lot better with Tua in there, especially in the last 5 games, versus the defensive rank of the Titans. I think this is a game that the Dolphins, if they're on this roll and we're continuing to win, I think this is a game we can go in there and just like we did Baltimore, I think we can go on the road, though, this time and actually surprise a good Tennessee Titans team.
I agree with you. I think, we can definitely go on the road in Tennessee, pull off the upset. I think this, Tannehill's, he's been inconsistent. And, I think, the defense for the Dolphins is playing outstanding, and I believe it's going to continue as we roll along. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins in an upset here.
Yep, absolutely. And, of course, we have to for our scenario to see how it plays out, because I've said the Dolphins would have to win the table, or run the table in order to even consider the playoffs. By the way, with that game in there, just that we put it in there so far, that pushes Miami up to the 6th seed, by the way. And we're going to have Atlanta is at Buffalo. That's a Buffalo win. I'm not going to take that away from that. It'll drop Miami down to the 7th seed as Buffalo overtakes us for the 6th seed. New York Giants at Chicago Bears. I'll just go. This is a battle of FFS, and my buddies will get the joke on that one. My buddy who came here for the Giants game here in Miami, he's a Giants fan, and one of his best friends and his co-host on a show that he does is a big Bears fan. So this is the battle of FFS, and it doesn't matter for me, so I'm going to give those guys a tie. You okay with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Bengals are at home against Kansas City. Do the Bengals pull off an upset late in the season?
No, I'm going to have to go with that on this one. I just think, Kansas City's playing a lot better football, so
Kansas City's defense has just been playing like crazy, and they've really improved. I got to go Kansas City in that game.
You can't go against Kansas City. Yeah, you can't go against Kansas City. I'm going to go with Kansas City.
All right. Now, will Arizona actually get stopped this week in Dallas?
In Dallas, I think Arizona is going to keep it close, but I'd like Arizona to win it. I mean, I know it's in Dallas, but I think Arizona's the better football team in Dallas. So, I'm going to go with Arizona in this game.
I'm going to have to agree with you, actually. And I was teetering on the edge there with this one, that Dallas would pull this out. But Dallas has done the same thing this year that Dallas has done a lot. Dallas will tease you early in the season, and they'll look like a great football team. And then all of a sudden, something happens, a couple of injuries here, or what have you, and then Dallas kind of falls apart. So I don't see Dallas being able to hold this thing together. I think Arizona beats them. Raiders travel to Indianapolis. Raiders, I'm sorry, but Indianapolis is going to be fighting for their playoff lives. I got to go Colts.
Yeah, I'm going with Colts too. At Indianapolis, I just think the Colts going to be way too much for them.
So, all right, here would be the upset of the year, folks. The New England Patriots at this point, we've got them projected right now at 11-4. And actually, if they win this game, they take back over the first seed in the AFC. And this is the Jacksonville Jaguars on their way to Foxborough. Don't see it happening. Patriots win this one.
No, I don't see it happening. And signing is going to be close, not even close.
No, this is a blowout. So, next up is Carolina at New Orleans. I think New Orleans wins that.
Yeah, New Orleans wins that one.
Jets are at home against Tampa. I'm sorry, Tom Brady this late in the season against such an underwhelming team in the Jets. That's Tampa all day long. The Washington football team returns home to play against the Eagles. That's going to be tough, but I think Washington can win that game.
It's going to be real tough, but I think at the end of the day, Washington's going to pull it off.
Yeah. That changes the seeding a little bit now in the NFC that just dropped Philadelphia out of the 6th seed, put Washington there. They just flip-flopped. All right, that brings us to the Broncos at the Chargers. This is Chargers all day.
Yeah, Chargers all day, and it's not even going to be close in that game. I'm going to love the Chargers, and I love them big.
All right, so brings us to San Francisco. They're at home against the Texans. That's San Francisco all day. Let's go to the Rams at Baltimore. I got to go Baltimore in this game.
Yeah, Baltimore for me too. I just think Baltimore's going to be the better team.
Detroit at Seattle. I'd love to see Detroit win this. I think it's a very winnable game, but are they going to win on the road at Seattle?
I don't see it.
I don't see that happening either. Vikings, unfortunately, they have to hit another juggernaut. This is going to knock them out of the playoffs completely if they're not already eliminated. They're going to be on the road against Green Bay. Green Bay's going to win that game hands down.
Yeah, they're going to win that game convincingly. Minnesota won't be able to keep up.
Yeah. Okay, so we come into Cleveland is on the road at Pittsburgh.
That's going to be a good game. That is definitely going to be a good game.
Well, I think at this point, Cleveland has to get a win here. Pittsburgh is already, from our projections, is pretty much out of it at this point. Cleveland needs a win to go to 8-8 and have a shot. But I think Pittsburgh plays. I think Pittsburgh plays the spoiler role in this game.
Yeah, I think that Pittsburgh they are more desperate than Cleveland. I think Pittsburgh plays spoiler and knocks Cleveland out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting to note we just finished week 17. We're going to go ahead and finish week 18. That's the final week of the season. But right now, and this is what I've said, is at this point in time, at this juncture, the Dolphins would control their own destiny because they're already in. So if the Dolphins beat New England, it's a no-brainer. They're already in. So when we go to week 18, we're going to hold off on that Patriot-Dolphins game. We're not going to pick that one just yet. We're going to hold off on it, okay? We're going to pick all the rest of the games, and we're going to see what happens. So let's start with the Thursday night matchup. This is nothing. This is a nothing game for the most part. This is going to be the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. I'll just take New Orleans. I think they're a better team.
Yeah, I'm going to go with New Orleans. I just think there's going to be too much for Atlanta, so I'm going to go with New Orleans.
Yeah. Pittsburgh will be on the road at Baltimore. Now, Baltimore currently sitting at 11-5. They would like to go to 12-5. Pittsburgh, they're pretty much out of it, I would say at this point. Most likely, this would even up their record at 8-1.
Right. I just think Baltimore's, in Baltimore, I just think Baltimore's going to find a way to win this game somehow.
Yeah, Baltimore at home. Baltimore with that win, pending what happens with the outcome of the Tennessee game, Baltimore would vault up into the 3rd seed. It brings us to the Jets at Buffalo. Buffalo would win that one hands down. You've got the Bengals at the Browns.
Another good game. Bengals at the Browns.
I'm going to have to go Browns. I got to go home team with this one.
Yeah, home team for sure. I'm going to go with the Browns in this one too.
All right. And this is not changing the playoffs. We've already had several of these games have been determined or have determined playoffs. So that game really didn't do anything because neither one of those teams at this point was probably going to make the playoffs at that point. Green Bay on the road at Detroit, needing a win. And I'm not sure if an Arizona loss at home, though, to the Seahawks. So I'm just going to play this out real quick to see if the Lions were to upset, or actually if Green Bay was to win and somehow Seattle was able to upset Arizona, that would tip the scales in the NFC and give Green Bay the first seed. I don't see that happening, but I see Green Bay winning that game. I don't see the Lions having any chance, and Green Bay's going to be, hungry and then sitting back in the afternoon and watching that Arizona game.
Yeah, I love Green Bay. Yeah, I love Green Bay as well. I think Green Bay can be the better team.
Yeah, but I just don't think – I already put Arizona as the winner over Seattle at home, and they'll wrap up the number one seed. Tennessee is at the Texans. Tennessee wins that one going away. The Colts are at the Jaguars. That's a Colts victory. We'll come back to the Patriots and the Dolphins in just a second. Minnesota is at home against Chicago. I got to go with Minnesota. Are you with me on that one?
Absolutely. Minnesota all day for me.
All right. Washington football team at New York Giants. I think Washington will go in there and take care of business. At this point, New York is they're 5-10-1. They're going to lose. Washington is playing actually to keep that 6th seed, and I think that they'll win that game. Dallas goes to the Eagles. Now, the Eagles coming into this game based on our projections would be 8-8. Dallas would be 9-7. If the Eagles win, Philadelphia is in the playoffs. Washington would win the NFC East and knock Dallas down to the 6th seed. The Eagles are at home. If Dallas wins the East. The Eagles are out, and Washington is the 6th seed.
Right, and Dak Prescott's he's going to prove he's going to be too much for the Eagles, so I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys in that one.
I'm going to have to go with you on that one. I think that the Eagles have played pretty good football. I still don't think the Eagles are really a solid football team. I think Dallas is better. I think I got to go with Dak Prescott. I've got to go with Ezekiel Elliott. And I got to go with Mike McCarthy in this one as the coach. I'm going to go Dallas. Too much. All right, so Tampa Bay, they're at home. They get to close out against the Carolina Panthers. That's a no-brainer. I'm sorry, Seattle, you're not going to beat Arizona. That brings us to Kansas City, who, by the way, Kansas City is going to – let's come back to the Kansas City game because they're going to be on the road against the Broncos.
Right.
Okay. Miami and New England is a 1:00 game.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos and the Chiefs is the 4:25 game. So if New England loses to the Dolphins, all right, and Kansas City wins, Kansas City gets the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely, baby. Absolutely.
Now, if New England wins, it doesn't matter what Kansas City does, because Kansas City would be the number 3 seed. Kansas City would be the number 2 seed, excuse me. Mm-hmm. But we're going to come back to – we're going to put Miami back in there for right now. I'm not – because Miami, if they lose and the way that we've already put the rest of the scenarios together, if Miami loses to New England and they should be out, they would be out of the playoffs. So Miami still has to win out. So that final game down there in Miami – it could be interesting if Miami has run the table up to that point. I'll be at that game, and I will be hoarse by the end of the first quarter. But
yeah, you and me both.
But if Miami wins, if Miami beats New England, by the time Kansas City kicks off, they're going to know the score of the Miami and New England game. They're going to know whether or not they have a shot at the top seed. But if they lose to Denver, get this, they're still going to want to play this game hard, because if they lose to Denver, despite the fact that the Dolphins ended up beating New England and giving them an outside shot. If they lose to Denver, Tennessee takes over the number 2 seed.
Yeah, definitely Tennessee takes over the number 2 seed.
So Kansas City at Denver. Kansas City's got stuff to play for. I'm not going against Patrick Mahomes.
No, you can't go against Patrick Mahomes. Not even the slightest a bit.
All right. So San Francisco's at the Rams. I'll go Rams all day long. Rams are a lot better team, and they're at home.
Right. I'm going to go Rams too on that one.
All right. And then the Chargers, who are right now in the 5th seed, the Raiders are out of it. The Raiders are 7-9 heading into this game. The Raiders are at home, the final Monday night game of the year. The Chargers come to town. Chargers in the playoffs. Let's see. Now, if the Raiders beat the Chargers are still the 5th seed. If the Chargers win, they're still the 5th seed. I'll take the Chargers, probably just because if I'm your coach, I want to see you win the game because I want to see that momentum moving into the playoffs.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. I'm going to take the Chargers as well.
And so also here, if New England won, doesn't change anything for Los Angeles. If New England wins and we lose and the Dolphins lose, the Colts would be the 7th seed. If the Dolphins win, though, and everything else that we've talked about happens, then the Dolphins are the 7th seed.
Right, right.
So there you have it, folks, right here on Dolphin Radio. We've shown you. We've shown you basically in living color with the NFL playoff machine. Thank you, ESPN. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It's awesome. The Dolphins can make the playoffs, but they do have to win out.
Yeah, they do definitely have to win out. They can't look behind. They have to just win out every game and get some help at the end.
I found it interesting, though, that Cincinnati and Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Baltimore played a lot of important games against each other, and so did a lot of the teams in the AFC West. They played a bunch of games against each other and against some other teams in the AFC that it really doesn't even matter. To me, I played this several times. I did different scenarios. I've gone back and forth with this thing, and I'll probably continue to do it, and maybe you will too. It's just ESPN.com /NFL/playoffs/machine. You can find it. It's easier. I'll send you the link. You're going to have a ball with this thing. And just go through and figure out every possible little scenario. But if the Dolphins continue to win and they win out, they will be the 7th seed in the AFC. And barring somebody else doing something that we didn't think was going to happen, knocking somebody off and upset here or there, the Dolphins actually could be as high as the 6th seed. So very interesting scenarios. Not going to say it, but we have a good shot at running the table. Now, we run the table. Are we going to actually run the table and win the Super Bowl? Probably not, because we got to run into 4 juggernauts in there in Kansas City, New England, Tennessee, and Baltimore. We already beat Baltimore. We would have beaten Tennessee. We would have swept New England, by the way.
Right.
And we didn't even meet Kansas City. So it's tough to beat a team 2 times in a season, much less 3. So we'd have to beat New England a 3rd time, and we would face New England in this scenario. New England, us beating them and putting Kansas City into the top seed, if Kansas City beats Denver, that would mean that we have to go on the road and play New England the next week in the playoffs. Now, if Kansas City loses to Denver, though, that makes Tennessee the 2nd seed. That drops Kansas City all the way down to the 4th seed. We're still the 7th seed, but now we've got to turn around after we just played Tennessee in Week 17. We come home, we beat New England to get into the playoffs. Now we got to go back on the road for the wild card round, back to Tennessee. Tough to beat them 2 times. So Are the Dolphins going to actually have any luck in the playoffs? That's going to be tough. But you know what? I'll be impressed enough if Miami runs this table in the regular season and gets to the playoffs. Because basically, if they do that, they'll be in the playoffs. So let's talk real quick about the Jets, and then we'll close it out, and then we'll see everybody next week for a pregame show, basically, of the Jets game. But the Jets game is the next game. Must win, as they all are now for us. Your thoughts on that game, Chris?
I just think the Dolphins are going to have success in the air and on the ground. I just think the Dolphins are going to find a way to actually win convincingly versus the Jets. So I love the Dolphins, and I love the big. I'll take the Dolphins 30-13 in that game.
I agree. I think, and I want to see the Dolphins actually win a game convincingly, like we did against Carolina, somewhat like we did against the Giants. I don't want to see another repeat of what we saw when we were in New York. I just want to see a really good, solid game. But I think the Dolphins win that. Great show, Chris. Thanks for joining us. John, we wish you the best. Get well soon, buddy. And we will see you next week here for another episode of Dolphin Radio, where we'll go in-depth coming up onto the Jets game. This is our bye week this week. We'll see you next week, and we will beat the bye. I want to thank Chris Barker for joining us as my co-host today, and we'll see you next week right here on Dolphin Radio.
Thanks for watching or listening. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And for more great content, check us out on the web at www.dolphinradio.com.